Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes. Resolution to Local 152. Make a motion.
Mr. Bennell?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose? Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes. Resolution 2020-180 is a resolution for the approval to adopt a purchasing manual. Make a motion to approve the resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bennell?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes. Resolution 2020-181 is the approval of mandatory direct deposits for all borough employees and elected officials. Make a motion to approve the resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bennell?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes. Resolution 2020-182 authorizes an employment separation between the Borough of Bradley Beach and Patricia Marticelli. Make a motion to approve the resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bennell?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes, and we want to thank Patty for her service and wish her well in her next endeavor. And finally, Resolution 2020-183 is the adoption of the 2020 municipal budget. Make a motion to approve the resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Mr. Bennell?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Okay, Mayor Engelstad?
Yes, and it's been said numerous times before tonight, but Sandy, congratulations. This was truly baptism under fire. You did a fantastic job.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now is time for mayor and council reports. Council President Weber.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On Sunday morning, there was an incident around the Brindley Avenue jetty where there were 4 surfers involved in saving 3 swimmers that were swept out on the south side of the rocks. Don Greenberg, who's actually usually on these calls, meetings, whatever, he was involved in the rescue, and 2 other unknown surfers apparently. And then, of course, that same evening, we all know what happened to 4 swimmers on the south side of the 3rd Avenue rocks. Again, surfers helped these 2 swimmers get in, and then the lifeguards came and got 2 other swimmers that were stranded on the rocks. Ari Janoff, who is on the Environmental Commission, was involved as one of the surfers in the rescue. So there's a proud mama on this call here, Shanna Janoff. So good for you. And but really, for this latter incident, I have to say it was a very hot day. It was a weekend, and that's why we had guards on until 7 p.m. And this was just after 7. But I want to thank the previous council for making this decision to extend the lifeguard hours at times like these in the summer. Weekends when it's really hot and really crowded, they're staying. Somebody makes the calls to stay till 7. And that very well could have made the difference in several people's lives. So I said yes to this. They said, yes, we can do this. Yes, we can extend lifeguard hours. Yes, we can do it within budget. And, that's been our policy for a couple of years. Not every weekend, but on weekends where it looks like it's needed. So that was really, really terrific. A great outcome. We could be singing a very different tune if it were not for that. I must say, though, I don't really agree with the decision to keep people out of the water the following evening. So on Monday evening, my perspective is I'd rather see us paying lifeguards to keep people who are swimming safe after hours than to pay her special officers to stand on the beach and tell people not to swim. Either way, we're paying somebody. And I am just thinking of all the things that those special officers could have been doing or responding to that they weren't, because they had to stand there and tell people not to go in the ocean. So I think it deserves more discussion. I understand there might be staffing issues during the week, but at least like to take a look at this. And again, just rather be paying lifeguards to keep people safe than paying special officers to keep people from swimming. With respect to complaints, I don't have one right now, but I want everybody to know that residents are allowed to make an anonymous complaint to the town. To do so, what they can do is call the police dispatcher. And then before we have an energy fellow sort of on loan to us, somebody that's working on behalf of the borough remotely, of course, but is actually helping us achieve things that would give us sustainable Jersey points. But more importantly, they're getting together the info we need to do things like energy audits or to apply for New Jersey Clean Energy Program grants. Just an example of that is like assembling the info in place. It kind of helps us if we go for any kind of grants with the state. Really happy that the shade tree ordinance, that we took that step. I don't think it's too early to say. If you're interested in being on the Shade Tree Commission, please let us know. I will also, the Shade Tree Commission is going to be a resource for property owners. It is going to be a resource for somebody that, wants a tree in front of their house. And if they're seeking advice, maybe even for a tree on their property. So I think it's going to be great. With respect to community development, I do have one question. Administrator Brown said that we will be looking to hire a part-time code enforcement officer in August, and I was surprised there was no update. Is that still the plan? If we don't have a job description out, maybe, but is that still the plan? And we look like we might be doing that in August.
Yes, the job description will be out shortly.
Great. That's my report. Really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
Councilmember Sexsmith.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. From Fire and First Aid, in the month of June, there were, for first aid, there was 29 day calls, 19 night calls, for a total of 48 or 144 personnel hours spent responding. Of those, and the numbers are a little funny here, they don't add up, but this is the email I got. But 43 were for medical, 11 were for fire. There was 2 motor vehicle accidents. A total of 8 answer water rescue calls, 2 of which were within our town, but did not require transport to the hospital. There was also 2 COVID-19 related calls with transport to the hospital. As far as the fire department, they responded to 14 requests, 4 assists to the first aid for driver support, or 168 personal hours. So far in the month of July, they have answered 27 first aid calls, 8 fire calls, 2 assists. Chief Zeck would like me to remind everyone they're still looking for volunteers for both fire and first aid. Both offer free training for qualified individuals, volunteering for the fire department and the first aid squad. And one thing that he really wanted me to mention, and he didn't need to tell me this, but the cooperation that exists between the first aid squad and the fire department is astounding. They would not be able to be nearly as effective if they did not support each other and have each other's back on all these different calls. So well done to all the members of both squads. Moving on to the police department, as John mentioned, there was the water rescue Sunday afternoon that involved the 4 swimmers. They had the answer team come out, fully mobilized. There was a state police helicopter overhead as well. Thank you to the surfers for assisting with all that, but also thank you to all our first responders for coming out to assist those people. Last thing I have is tomorrow is the second Wednesday of the month, so it's plastic film recycling. We can all get that out. We can continue on with that program, and that is the end of my.
Tim, tomorrow's the 3rd Wednesday of the month.
Oh, you're right. Because the first was, never mind.
Okay.
I'm used to them following the meetings.
Yeah, I fell into the same trap. I have a huge collection at home. I'm going to take it to the recycling yard tomorrow. Councilmember Gubitosi.
Yes. For starters, the Main Street Task Force is keeping very busy under the guidance of Liz Hernandez. There is a community feedback survey on our borough website. It's a little difficult to find, so in case anyone's interested in filling it out, and if doing that, they are eligible for a prize in a drawing that will be held July 20th. They should look on our borough website under current news and information. It's a June 18th posting, but it's pretty easy to find. If you click on that, it'll take you to either an English or a Spanish version, and you can click on the appropriate buttons and answer the survey and make yourself eligible for gift certificates to merchants in town. That drawing is July 20th, so I would encourage everyone to get to complete the survey as soon as possible. The task force is also coordinating a walkability workshop, and that is where we have outside grant resources, primarily from Rutgers, who will help us assess the streetscape of Main Street. And that workshop will be held on July 21st, 10 a.m. to 12 noon. I encourage anyone who's interested, reach out to anyone on the mayor and council. Feel free to reach for me directly, and I'll put you in touch with Liz Hernandez, but everyone is welcome to attend that is interested. Again, that's July 21st, 10 to 12. And then the Main Street Task Force is also reviewing our parking on Main Street, working with the chief of police and trying to evaluate considerations where we might be able to create additional public access to street parking, to on-street parking. The separate liaison role is with the community center, and there is a July 20th meeting at the Carmen Biazzi Center where social distancing will, that meeting is to take place largely with the task force that's been created for the community center. And Paul Nishamkin will be coordinating that meeting. Sylvan Lake Commission has a ton of stuff going on. I'll just touch on a few, but they are, well, we collectively with the Borough of Avon and the Borough of Bradley Beach, we're collectively exploring shared services agreements to formalize those with Avon and also look at funding of different projects such as algae control and geese control. But the broader group of environmentalists are working on the restoration plan that I've mentioned from time to time. They're working with the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. And we also anticipate that we may be eligible for DEP grants to help us build rain gardens for Sylvan Lake. So there's a lot of exciting stuff happening there. It's a slow process, but we are making progress. The Maritime Forest, I think I mentioned this early in the year, and there's some activity re-emerging for creating a phase 3 project to further enhance the Maritime Forest. Our environmental commission actually has donated funds towards that project. And the hope is that they'll continue to find private sources of funding so there would be no cost to the borough, and then to enhance the plantings there in the October timeframe. So everyone knows Bradley Beach has already hired an organization called Civic Plus. They are a web designer, and they will be helping us design a new website for the borough. Dave Brown, our BA, and Amy Hall, Director of Tourism, are two people involved in that along with myself. And we've recruited 4 residents as part of a focus group to help guide our direction for building and hopefully dramatically site functionality. The 4 residents are Nancy Meadow, Nick Poverman, Cindy Kwiatkowski, I'm sorry, Cindy, Kwiatkowski, and Jane DeNoble. So we have had a very preliminary design of that presented to us. It already looks great, but we're doing a lot still to enhance it further. But I think everyone will be very pleased with the user friendliness and functionality that Civic Plus is bringing to us. And then finally, we touched on this briefly during the meeting today, but I did want to call out our zoning officer, George Waterman, for great work he's been doing in helping us basically reorganize and revamp Chapter 450, our zoning ordinances. We obviously approved one this evening, 450-79, but sections within Chapter 450. George is lead chair, actively participating. And we also have 3 private citizens that have volunteered their time. John Naples, a very experienced building contractor. Mary Hearn, a very prominent architect. And TJ Cohen, who everyone knows, but a very prominent realtor. So we have some really good perspectives being brought to the table to help us continue to reorganize Chapter 450 of our zoning ordinances. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Councilmember Bunnell? think involved in the water rescues. And hopefully we can keep that up. Thanks. A kickoff event on Saturday 18th at noon. The Borough Administrator and I will be meeting with property owners of multifamily buildings tomorrow with a particular focus on those who have had a less than stellar record as it pertains to code enforcement. Councilmember Gubitosi referenced the church building committee meeting on Monday. Update regarding the library. The library reopened to patrons on Monday, July 13th, allowing 25% of the building capacity. Their first hour from 9 to 10 is reserved for patrons aged 60 and over, expectant mothers, and those who are considered high risk. Computers are available by appointment and for 30 minutes per day. At this time, staff are retrieving items to be checked out for patrons. All programs are still held virtually, and our meeting room is currently unavailable to be booked. Curbside pickup is still available for interested patrons. The hours are currently 9 to 5 Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9 to 8 Thursday. And the library summer reading program is in full swing and is open to children and adults of all ages. Participants can visit the library's website to access the link to sign up. They have a variety of prizes to win that have been provided through the support of their friends of the Bradley Beach Library and in partnership with the Bradley Beach Business Community Alliance. And then finally, pursuant to Borough Code 60-14, I am reappointing the following zoning board members to their seats with terms expiring December 31st, 2023. Harvey Rosenberg, Robert Quinlan, and Dennis Mayer. Now is the time for public comment. David?
Okay, Mayor, we have Paul Nishamkin.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to inform everyone that the Bradley Beach Historical Society will have a virtual porch tour this Sunday, the 19th at 3 p.m. And basically, we're going to be encouraging people to sign on to Zoom on their porches and share their stories about their life on the porch and the history of their porch. We have several people already who've sent us in photographs of their porches and stories, and they will share them. Thank you. If you need information on how to sign in, look to our Facebook page, look up Bradley Beach History.org. Our website is bbhistory.org, and basically you'll see links there to Zoom. Thank you.
Next up, we have Alan Rapp.
Good evening. It's Alan Rappaport, 512 Newark Avenue. I wanted to address a couple of things, particularly on the beach. First of all, I'm thoroughly amazed and delighted that we have such great volunteers and citizens that came to the aid of people in distress over the weekend. That's just terrific because, as Councilman Weber said, it could have been a much different outcome. But at the same time, and I don't know quite what it was because I had the occasion on Sunday to be in Long Branch for dinner, but the beach was insane, absolutely insane. I don't know if we're limiting the amount of daily passes that can be sold, but social distancing, at least on Newark Avenue, was not great. And it was very concerning to myself, my family, that how close people just got on top of one another. It's just not a great thing, particularly the area where the lifeguards rope themselves around so they have good distance to do their job. People just seem to sit right on top of that rope and you can't gain access to the beach. And as the water line got very busy, it was very difficult to get to the water. And eventually you were kicking sand on people and it led to some discussion. The other thing I wanted to mention also about the beach, and I know that I had this discussion with the chief a while back, but somebody's got to inspect what's coming in on these coolers. It's not just cold drinks and sandwiches. I know that there's an issue of privacy and civil rights, but I think that the liaison to the police department, along with borough council, should really come up with an idea that it'll work. My last thing is bicycles on the sidewalk. I know there's a special that's assigned to Main Street in the evening, during the day, and walks. I mean, somebody's really going to get hurt. With more and more people being outside the restaurants versus being inside the restaurants, standing around waiting for tables. We need to do something, making sure that there's stepped up enforcement, never mind enforcement, stepped up enforcement, so that nobody gets hurt, because we're doing a lot to make the borough great, and I don't want to have anything that's negative. And I once again thank the mayor and council for their service.
So, Alan, I'm here at Borough Hall. There is a representative of the police department here with me, and they're taking copious notes, and so they will take a closer look at the issues that you brought up going forward.
I appreciate that, Mayor.
Okay.
Next up, we have Ms. Nancy Meadow. You have to unmute.
Not hearing anything. Nancy, we're not hearing anything.
Mm,
Do you hear me now?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Okay, so let me restart, sorry. I come here always seeking answers. So in January, there was a meeting. This excludes Mr. Brown and Randy because you weren't there. I asked why my beach was renamed. I was sent on a wild goose chase to committees that do not exist, and I'm still waiting for an answer. At that particular same meeting, I mentioned the problem with music and wireless speakers on the beach. Mr. Guida said there's an ordinance and call a cop. I mentioned that information used to be on signage. Since then, a librarian in New York was shot for asking a patron to wear headphones. This is now becoming a problem in Bradley Beach. There seems to be a lack of presence of officers on the beach. Although today, for the first time, I actually saw one who requested to see my badge, which clearly is their job, but I couldn't help but wonder why they didn't ask others to see their badge. How do you choose? Is there a minimum amount, like a spot check? I'm also extremely concerned of the waste of money. I'm on my third shower at my beach. And I don't understand why we bought all those new lifeguard stands, and yet they're not utilized, and there's no social distancing with my lifeguards. Putting one spray of sanitizer on equipment doesn't quite seem adequate to me. And I don't know why we're going through all of this when it's not being enforced. That's about it for tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I respond on one of those items? I don't have an answer for you on everything, Ms. Meadow. I don't have any clue why your beach was renamed. I don't even know what that's about. But I was negligent to say in my report. I spoke to the head lifeguard, Dick Johnson, and he said, you know, if somebody's having a problem with somebody and their music's too loud, it is okay to go up and say something to the lifeguard. If they have a free minute and they're not the only guard or there's nothing going on, the lifeguards are okay with mentioning to somebody that, they can't play loud music. So that's another resource. Of course, what you said is correct. People can call the police, absolutely, and that is their job as well. But, we got a lot of people on the beach. I think it wouldn't hurt to spread it around. The head lifeguard said it's okay to mention the music thing to the lifeguard at least. So that's one solution there.
Yeah, and I'll just weigh in a little bit on the whole idea of police presence. Myself and another council member, we met with the chief at the beginning of the beach season, a little bit at the height of the George Floyd issues and police issues nationwide. And some residents indicated to us that they were not comfortable with police SUVs on the beach, that it had an intimidating aspect to it. So we talked to the chief about it, and he said that he would remove those vehicles off the beach. And he then got back to us and felt that that was making his job or the department's job a little bit more difficult. That was not my motivation to push him to take the vehicles off the beach. And the last thing we wanted was anything, there is room, those vehicles will go on the beach. Usually my complaints, the complaints that come to me, are police being too aggressive as it pertains to checks of coolers, as it pertains to parking, as it pertains to other beach issues. And this year, with a heightened sensitivity with regards to the beach, the concern is the opposite. The police are not having enough of a presence or being proactive as they should be. So that's on me because I was trying to address some sensitivity issues, and it made the police department's job a little bit more difficult. So I apologize for that, and our anticipation is that there will be an increased police presence going forward. I had something else to say, which just slipped my mind, but if it comes back, I'll bring it up again. David, who else would like to speak?
All right, we have Kristen Mahoney.
Hi, sorry about my interruption before. As I said before, I took the picture on the beach of the guy with the full-blown karaoke concert going on at the beach. But I do want to thank the council and whoever is responsible for the extra bathrooms on the beach. I think that Bradley Beach is far and above any other beach when it comes to the bathrooms, and I think our lifeguards are fantastic. I think a lot of my concerns have been addressed from the mayor and Mr. Weber. I do think that having some signs about the music issue would be helpful. It would be easier to point it out to people if the signs were posted about the ordinance requiring headphones. And I understand what the mayor is saying about the balance of the aggressiveness of the police, because I think that where people have that problem is with the checking of coolers. I think it's fine when people see people drinking en flagrante, as opposed to then asking someone to open a cooler because they are suspected of drinking. I think the important thing is to have the beach police out and walking around on foot so that they can see what is actually going on the beach, because that's when you see the people smoking pot. You can smell the people smoking pot. You can hear people playing the music when you're, 20 feet away from them, 30 feet away from them. And I think just having that presence of them walking around, being friendly, whatever, checking badges, alone is a deterrent. And I think the lack of seeing the presence has kind of led to this laissez-faire attitude that we're seeing on the beach right now, where people feel like as long as I get on the beach, I can then do, whatever it is I want once I'm on the beach. But thank you all for your service and managing during this very difficult time. Thank you.
Thank you. David.
Next up, we have Cindy.
Yes, thank you. I would like to echo our last two speakers regarding the lack of police presence. I do believe that foot patrol is a lot more effective. I did find a fence in previous years when the beach Jeep was riding around. It often went very fast. Now with social distancing, we're taking up a greater area of the beach, and there's really not a traffic lane for a Jeep to be riding through people that are spread out on the beach. I do believe that the drinking this year is higher than it has been in the past. I mean, the number of red Solo cups, bottles of vodka just coming out of coolers, being freely poured, hard seltzers in their hand. It's not even trying to be concealed. And I sit in the same area as Miss Meadow and feel there has been a lack of presence in terms of monitoring some of these not appropriate behaviors that we have standards not to apply to. So I would like to see the foot patrol back. I know in previous years, I got to know many of the officers that were there. It was nice to know them, to know that they were around. I usually am on the beach every weekend. I have not seen one officer during a weekend. But on a weekday early in the season, when I was one of maybe 20 people, they were there. And I was like, you know, this isn't when we need it. These are all people that are here every day, that are residents. They know what's going on. And so I encourage the mayor and administration to bring back the foot patrol to the beaches. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mia. I don't know if I pronounced that right.
Sorry. Okay. Hi. I'm sorry. My first time coming to one of these meetings. First, I just want to thank everybody for all you do. I love this town. And it's nice to see the gentleman in ties, most of us that have been working at home. So I thank you for your professionalism and everything that you do as well. I am curious, is there still a quality of life committee? Because that was the last meeting I went to. It was a while ago, but it was more of a forum for these kinds of things, like what Kristen brought up and Alan and the other people spoke to, that I think we were able to voice our opinions. And I hate that it's a complaint session, but I think we all have concerns with the beach this year, primarily due to COVID. The crowding is just insane because nobody has anywhere else to go. The kids don't have jobs. So it's almost a more crowded, and people are supposed to be social distancing. I have to ditto what folks have said about the music. And I think there's been the issue brought up about the tents. I have to echo what was just said before about it being the police on foot versus in the cars, or and there's no room for extra cars on the beach. And that is a concern for me, because that's poses as, you know, a danger to have those riding around. But I did want to also ask about the signage. I think that was mentioned before too. I've read what ordinances are, my lack of knowledge. But I don't know if there's any fines that could be imposed. You know, Spring Lake has a reputation of being the land of no, but I don't think it's bad to have a reputation that you can't do things that disturb your neighbors and not get fined for it. So I don't know what's involved. I've never worked in government before. I'm not a lawyer either. So I'm curious as to why we couldn't have fines. There's fines, I think, for not wearing a badge, or fines for drinking on the beach. There's fines for going on the dunes. And by the way, I've seen people on the dunes. I tell them to get off, and they badmouth me. So I can't even imagine what would happen if I told somebody to turn down a radio. People are very anxious. I don't want to be the one that polices it. I don't think it's fair to put that on the residents when we have a police force that we're all paying for. This is not a scary town where we need them running around doing, I don't know what all the other things are. Again, I don't run the town, but what I don't appreciate is that I am being told that I am the one who has to voice the complaint. I don't want to have to walk up to the neighbor and have a combative situation. And that's what it is. People are under a lot of stress, more so than ever, because of COVID. COVID is still here, and everyone is acting as if just keep going about your own business. Exceptions have to be made, even within running our own community. So, and you guys are doing a great job. I'm not complaining about it. There's just so much that I see that's on the docket, but I just don't understand why it's been put on the residents to have to make these complaints. The other thing is the tents. I was on the beach between 3rd and 4th Street on Sunday, which was mentioned before. It was very crowded on Sunday. I don't care what beach you're on, I think in general. I wonder if we are limiting it. That's a whole nother topic. But I counted and took pictures of 5 tents. I don't know if a canopy is considered a tent, but somebody had a monstrosity up that was about 9 feet tall, as if they were going to throw a wedding party or something. And I just don't understand why that's necessary to have that on a beach. But maybe those are allowed. But then there were 4 other tents, so 5 things. And even the baby tents. Have a baby if you're going to have a baby tent. So I see these very tall baby tents. Again, just more things to police for. And I know it's work. The The other thing is just on the side regarding limiting the people on the beach. I don't know if you're aware, you probably are, what other towns are doing, but Spring Lake is requiring that people purchase their daily badges the day before. And that's what's been limiting the extraordinary crowds that everybody did anticipate this summer. Just an idea. I understand it takes technology when you get them their badges. They might have been ahead of the game planning for that in March and April. I don't know how they're doing it, but it's not a bad idea to help limit the number of persons that are really wall to wall on our beaches. And the two other things, ball throwing, I don't know if that, I thought that was a rule that there shouldn't be ball throwing on the timer on the beach. I'm seeing a lot of that, and it's hard to get around them when you're trying to social distance. There's a bike rack at the end of the north end that's right on the walkway. So if all the bikes are there, you can't walk around it, social distancing. So I put it in the parking lot maybe. Sorry, all complaints, but I thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Caroline.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I know there's been a lot of complaints about the beaches this year, and I just wanted to add two more to these, is that I go for a walk on the boardwalk every evening, and there has not been a single evening I've gone for a walk on the boardwalk where I have not seen multiple bikes and or dogs. And I know that dogs are not allowed on the boardwalk in the off season, or dogs are only allowed on the beach and boardwalk in the off season, and bikes are not allowed after 10 a.m. Yet I see people riding along or walking their dogs, and there's nobody there enforcing it, and I don't want to be the bad guy here. And this is weekdays, weekends. I very rarely see anybody enforcing bikes or dogs at night.
Okay, thank you.
Next is Nancy Meadow.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to add to all of these issues regarding supervision, I guess we could say, on the beach. And it seems to be going from end to end, not just one particular beach, that the public is asking for the walking cops, not the ones driving in their vehicles. And I would also, if you're trying to not have a volatile situation today, and one time earlier in the season, I did observe an officer speak to people about their tents. But it was also interesting to me, the selection of people that they spoke to who did not look like me. So if you don't want to have an increase of tension.
I just had two last comments. I have noticed on some of the social media coming out of the town, especially from the Bradley Beach rescue team, you know, I think the lifeguards are doing a great job and I value them. However, many of their photos show them close proximity with no mask. And I just don't want a bad image for the town that we are not concerned about overall health of our staff and our visitors and our town. So I think there should be some caution taken in what types of photos are being taken of, you know, 3 or 4 lifeguards huddled together for a group shot, you know, working out like next to each other. I just think we should be cautious. And finally, I just really want to thank all of the council and the mayor and the administrative staff for all you do during, not only during these trying times, but always. I've really seen an improvement in town leadership with this current administration, and I am grateful for all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alan?
Yeah, I'm sorry. David, this is actually directed towards you. Since we have so many people on the beach, how's our revenue?
Actually, I'm going to defer to our CFO for that question.
That's good, David. Come on, Sandy, what do you got?
So I did some preliminary numbers today, and early on in the COVID discussions that we had regarding beach revenue, we did have a lot of concerns about whether the revenue would be made. As of today, July 14th, I did the calculations, and we're about $1.2 million into the anticipated $1.5 million for the beach revenue, as far as beach badge sales exclusively.
So just to recap quickly, so that was July 14th. That puts, would you say, about halfway into the season?
I think we have 7 weeks left in the season.
Okay, so we, as Mr. Cohan would say, we're well on our way to making our numbers.
Yes.
Great, and a lot of that, again, is attributed to the great work that the borough mayor and council and administration has done in presenting a great environment on the beach. The lifeguards doing a terrific job, and the DPW keeping that beach clean. So I want to thank everybody, as we've all been doing here. And although we've been, I'll use the word bitching, but that's what residents do, because we want to improve our town and make it a place where we can bring our friends and family. And again, thank you. And Sandy, great budget, really great budget.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Cohen.
Thomas Cohen, 612 Third Avenue. I had a question for Councilman Gubitosi about the walkability meeting. Is that going to be a walk around Main Street, or is that a Zoom meeting?
No, I believe it. Well, I believe it'll be a Zoom meeting. I saw Liz Hernandez had dialed in earlier. If she's still on, she might be able to give us more details.
Okay.
But I believe it's a virtual meeting.
That'd be great if a lot of people can participate. It could be really helpful. So it is a Zoom. Okay. And I had a question for Mr. Brown. Right when you got here in early January, the council did a resolution about the Monmouth County Assessment Demonstration Program and about the unfairness that 6 towns were not participating in this equalization. Was that resolution ever forwarded to the county tax board or to the county freeholders?
Yes, it was forwarded to both, as well as the legislatures too, I believe. And Erica, you can chime in if you need to, because I believe you're the one to forward everything.
If you gave it to me to forward, then I did it.
Yes, it was forwarded. It was forwarded when I got here in March. It was done.
And we received no response from them on this.
No, but in talking to the county tax board, they were very appreciative that that the borough sent that over.
Well, I mean, appreciative is one thing, but doing something is another. That's what I'm, that's what I'm concerned about.
Understood. Not sure what they actually would do, but because the other towns have the option to be in or not.
Yeah, but when you pull some of the houses in Belmar or Manasquan and see the same assessment for 3 years in a row, 4 years in a row, Bradley Beach residents would love the same thing. So we signed up for something, in all fairness, for the over 50 towns in the county, and these guys choose not to participate. That doesn't create the leveling that was anticipated by myself and other residents. So I guess I'll have to go to the freeholder meeting, Mr. Brown.
There you go.
I did have a point of order for Mr. Cannon. Mr. Cannon, the mayor just made appointments to the zoning board without it being on the agenda. I believe, for the public to be able to track who is getting positions and what the terms are, that should really be done in a resolution at the next council meeting and not at this council meeting. That's my point of order, if you have any interjections, sir.
So, one, there's no governing body action on the item like that. It's the mayor's purview to make the appointments under the borough code to both land use boards. And so this kind of was in another world of the agenda process. And I learned recently that for some reason the zoning board has been tracking their appointment dates as I don't know, in the middle of June. And if you read 6014 in the borough code, that's not correct. They're supposed to go to the end of the year and relate back to the beginning of the year. So this is a correction in essence, and it did follow your student pointing out that it falls into like this netherworld of the agenda because it doesn't actually require anyone up here to do anything. The mayor could technically just send a letter to the zoning board and they can announce it over there. So I suggested to the mayor that he bring it up in his report to try to be transparent about it.
But I mean, to be transparent, wouldn't there be a record in the agenda with, at least a consent agenda item?
I think that would be within the purview of the zoning board for their members. I mean, we're not, it's the zoning board secretary's job and the secretary's job to track all their terms and keep it in their minutes and everything. It came to my attention because the mayor was contacted that they thought some terms were expiring in June, which isn't the case under the code. And so we had to correct that. The mayor has gotten a letter together, basically essentially what he says, it's like 3 lines to correct that. And then we ran into the issue that you just pointed out, which is how do you do this? Because it's not a vote. So
not a vote. I understand that, but just in transparency that it be included in this document so the public knows that.
I think going forward, we're going to put it on the top of the agenda, and then the mayor will just announce it as a separate item. But I hope you can understand we kind of fell into a weird area here, and I wasn't expecting to do zoning appointments in July. I can say that. So.
I understand. And in finishing what took place in Bradley Beach on July 4th, there was an electrical outage and a brownout all over town, different parts, but the police and OEM, the fire and the first aid did a wonderful job. We had no street lights on Main Street. We had no stoplights on Main Street. The restaurants, unfortunately, were having a tough time, and they muddled through as best they could before they lost electricity totally. But it was a very nice coordinated effort between all of them. And I was just thankful that there were no fireworks that night. But if we could make a memo, Mr. Brown, to contact JCP&L and get some kind of background as to what really took place, and if we can avoid that at such an inopportune time in the future, that would be fantastic. But they did a great job. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Duly noted. Mayor, we have Liz Hernandez.
Okay, good.
Hello. So I just wanted to answer Mr. Cohen's question about the walkability workshop. It is going to be a Zoom meeting, unfortunately. We were going to try to have 4 members kind of meet, but I don't think that's going to happen. What's going to happen is the Zoom meeting is going to start with an overview of the complete streets. So they're going to go over what a complete street is, what we can look for when we're doing they're going to go over the audit forms that are going to be available online to download. And sorry, I have a visitor next to me. And then, so that way they'll go over it. They'll walk through with a Google Earth, I guess, walkthrough. I don't really know. It's a new thing and they've never done it. So it's going to be interesting. There's going to be breakout groups, I guess, going from one aspect of the corridor to the other. And that's all I know. And it's so they're going to record it as well. And it'll be up right after. So it's July 21st from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And does that answer Mr. Cohen's question?
Yes. Thank you, Liz.
Great. Thanks.
Mayor, I see no other hands.
Okay, at this time, the mayor and council and the borough attorney, borough administrator need to go into executive session. So what we're going to do is go into our own separate additional Zoom meeting. So if you want to stay on, close the meeting at the end of the executive session. So at this time,
do we have a topic, Mayor, on what the executive session is?
legal matters. We discuss legal matters. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bennell?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes. Group effort as always. Yeah, okay.
Well, I was talking to Gail about this. People just don't refuse to compromise anymore. It's like you compromise, people think you gave in, as opposed to trying to find a happy solution.
Exactly, just let's get in the middle here, you know, so yeah, no, it's almost to the point where I wanna almost go off of Facebook.
Yeah.
because I'm getting.
Well, especially as it gets closer to
Well, I don't
the election,
comment on anything.
I don't even want to see it.
I don't wanna see it either, so there's certain people, I'm like, man, I didn't know she wrote that. Yeah, I don't know, I don't think I should read it anymore, it's too. I don't, I just.
Yeah, but if
go
you
over
like,
it and
if
I
you
get
do,
off.
if you do like, if someone posts something on a Lincoln Project, you could say, I don't want to see anything from the Lincoln Project. And you won't, no matter who posts anything, you won't see it anymore. So you could still see that person.
It'll say hide all from.
You know,
this.
but you won't see anything that they post from Lincoln Project, for example. So I do a lot of that. I do like, I don't want to see anything from, you know, whatever the group is that's posting silly things. You know, I just rather just,
I like to look at pictures of you.
you know,
People's kids, their
Yeah.
grandkids. I love looking at your two new grandkids. I'm happy with that. Yeah, I'm happy with that.
a lot of people say that about our grandchildren.
Your grandchildren.
Well, that's
because Erin takes good pictures.
And Aaron does a good job of that.
But they're. Thank you. They're, I mean, their smiles are. Yeah. They have the. They are happy kids. They're really happy kids.
Yeah.
They are. Really. But
They'll
yeah,
be
they're
here. You'll
gonna
see them a little bit more over the next few weeks. They'll
Oh,
be
they're gonna
here.
come Sunday night. They're gonna stay till Tuesday. And then the first week of August, they'll be here the whole week. Oh, they're so happy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he was so upset that he couldn't go in the water. I had a
Because he
fight
likes to
with
go
them.
boogie boarding.
With the water was so rough on was it Saturday. I had a fight with them because they only know the water is good. They don't know when it's bad. It's really bad, especially the way it was because there was that shelf. The water would come in on the shelf. It would wipe straight you right out. 2 seconds. Especially little Mackenzie who weighs nothing.
Last night it was kind of dangerous. I almost.
It's been bad all week. Even today they said it was bad. Yeah.
It was like 6 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock at night, and the water was too rough. I don't know why.
I think what happened is the storm.
5 or 6 feet
the
high.
storm
And we're beginning to come back.
Hello, David.
And we're beginning to come back. Nope. Live stream is working. Craig's coming back. The mayor's there. I don't see Erica yet.
I think there's a ghost in Randy's backyard.
Yeah, it's like, what's going on?
Just, oh, here she comes. As soon as she said, Mayor, you can start. I
Okay.
think Randy's back.
Make a
He's
motion.
back.
Eric, you're there? Okay.
I'm
Okay,
here.
make a motion to return to the regular meeting.
Second.
Mr. Bennell? Randy?
You're muted, Randy.
Looks like he's on
Oh, wait, I see him there. Okay. Mr. Gubatose, I got it. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes. And I make a motion to close the regular meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Mr. Bennell?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes. Good night, all.
Bye, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.